Okay, then here we go. We've got a live stream of a Cowboy match, and this is Virtual Pool 4 online, and we'll explain Cowboy as we go along. For those of you who've never seen it, it's a game for, well, in this game, in Virtual Pool 4, it's a game for 2 or 4 players. You can play in doubles, and in this case we're playing Scotch doubles, so each player takes a shot in turn. And Cowboy has 3 phases to it. You've got the 3 balls lined up at the start of the game. You have the 1 ball on the middle spot at the kitchen end, the 5 ball on the middle spot in the middle of the table, and the 3 ball on the head spot of the triangle. And the game starts off, in this case I should point out that this is an alternate Cowboy, I believe. We'll soon find out if that's the case. It doesn't look like it. Looks like normal Cowboy. We'll find out in a second. On the top left hand corner it shows you the type of shot required. Yeah, it is alternate Cowboy. What that means is you have to alternate shots between a pot and a carom to score points. A carom scores 1 point, and in this phase of the game you have to reach a total of 90 points by potting balls and getting the point value of each ball, and by caroming, which will give you 1 point. If you carom 2 balls you'll get 2 points. The object is to reach 90 points exactly, and then once you reach 90 points you then have to, again playing Scotch doubles, alternate between players and score caroms between 90 and 100. The end of the game will be a scratch off the 1 ball. That's the objective. So we've got 4 players in the game, and we will just double check who they are. We've got a Trito from Germany, well, presumably that's Croatia, Kro Dubrovnik from Croatia, Sonic from Ireland, and A3++ from Egypt. So we've got a diverse mixture of players, and we've got a scratch there. So if you scratch on the middle of a run you will lose the points that you've built up. And if you don't see any shot type in the top left hand corner, that means it's an open table. You can either play a carom or pot a ball. There is a kitchen rule. You can't play the cue ball from outside the kitchen from a scratch, and you cannot also play a ball that's in the kitchen from a scratch. Just a little sec to fix something here. That's a bit better. Now I think this is the, it looks like the 10-foot table. Let me just double check. Yeah, it's a 10-foot table. So this is not the standard 9-foot table, so it makes the game a little more difficult. And Dubrovnik there should have potted a ball, so that's the end of the run. Sonic comes to the table with an open table, and well, he can look for a carom, but it's probably easier playing the pot, cutting that 5 down the rail or cutting in the 3. Now the one thing about playing this game, especially when you're playing doubles, is you have to think about the shot that you're actually playing and where you're going to try and leave the cue ball. The object being to leave your partner a shot when he comes to the table. Now Sonic has missed the pot, and that's left an easy starter for a Trito. He can certainly pot the 3. The 3 will go on its spot. Now he needs to leave the cue ball probably in that top half of the table. to make it easier to play a carom possibly off the 3 onto the 5. So I would expect him not to hit this too hard. But it depends on each player and how they see the shot panning out. Now you see he's cut that. He's also caromed into the 1. Now that also means that his partner comes to the table still with an open table, because Atrito potted the ball and also caromed another ball. So that meant Dubrovnik could have potted a 5. Now we can see that already the standard of these players is certainly a little lower than what we would normally see, and I think that's partially due to the fact that these guys don't play on this 10-foot table very often. That looks like a scratch, so that 4 points that they gained there have already gone. Now Atrito's got ball in hand in the kitchen. He can actually play off the 1 ball, or he can pot the 1 ball next to him there, but he's going to pot the 5. Now this time hopefully he'll play a better shot to leave his partner an easy carom. Now there is 1 there which will be off the 5 ball onto the 1. It's going to be a bit thin. Now that now leaves Atrito on a pot, so he can pot the 1. Again, I wouldn't be potting this too heavy. Not a lot of power, just let the cue ball come back up the table. Again, he's got to be thinking about leaving his partner an easy carom. And it's going to be off the 5 onto the 1. Now this isn't easy, because there's always a danger playing this type of shot that the player can scratch into the corner pocket here or into the corner pocket here if you play it with too much power. So he's missed a carom, and Sonic's back at the table. Now he's got again an open table, so he can pot the 5 or pot the 3. Well, he's missed the 3, but he's got second prize. He's got the carom. So that was a sort of 2-in-1 shot. So Atrito and Dubrovnik are leading by 22 points to 6. A3++ has just potted the 5. Now that isn't a good follow through shot, because he can't get to the 5 off it, so he's going to have to play a carom off the edge of the 1, probably down to the 3. It looks easier to go off the left hand side of the 1 ball, spin it with a bit of right English to actually come off the side rail and possibly the end rail like that, and kiss into the 3 ball. And he's got the right English on it. Let's see if we can judge it right. Oh, I don't know what he's doing now. He's back to the first shot. And now he's got an awful lot of right English on it. I don't think he needs quite as much. He's actually putting more draw on it than English. Yeah, he got that all wrong, because obviously he had to play the carom, ended up playing the pot. And that's the other mistake that players make, where they're not paying attention to what the actual shot type is in the top left hand corner of the screen. So Atrito and his partner come back to the table, leading by 11 points. And again, an open table, so it's going to be a 5 ball. And again, a little run through, so he doesn't need to hammer this in, he just needs to run it through with the cue ball to leave the carom from the 5 to the 1. Now you see he's already slammed the cue ball there, and that is not thinking logically for his partner. He had a much easier way to leave his partner a carom there, and now Dubrovnik needed a firmer shot in the 5 to get the carom onto the 3. So you've got to make shots easier for your partner, especially if they're the weaker player. You have to make things a lot more obvious for them to be able to play shots in this game, and this is why you have to rely on your partner to play sensible shots. So again, an open table, Atrito and Dubrovnik leading by 27 points to 11. He's got a cut in the 5, he's got a cut in the 3 as well, as a matter of fact. And he's scratched. So again, Sonic coming to the table, ball in hand, can play an easy carom off the 1 onto the 5, or he can pot the 1 other 5, whichever he chooses. Now I'm just going to be a little second while I do a refresh on my bit of lag going on. I think we're more or less up to date now. Now Sonic has a pot on the 1, which he gets. Now that 1's getting respotted, so that means it's an easy carom for A3++, or A3 as we'll abbreviate it from now on. Now there's a problem. He's got the carom, but he's left his partner no pot. So that needed a firmer shot, but the bank was on, and that's dug them out a hole. Now, Cowboy is a game that incorporates 1 or 2 other games. Certainly, if the players play 1 cushion or 3 cushion billiards, then there are 3 cushion billiard shots in this game available. Sometimes they can get you out of a tricky situation. There's quite a lot of players play this game where they don't play billiard shots like that. They tend to look for draw shots or a single rail shot sometimes, and it doesn't always work. So there's another scratch. This time we've got the 1 ball in the kitchen, which is dead for the time being, and Sonic can pot the 5. 5 gets respotted in the middle. Now if he runs through, he can leave his partner a carom from the 5 to the 1. Let's see whether he's thinking. If he stops the cue ball, he could leave his partner a carom from the 5 to the 3. Again, he's drawn it back to absolutely no real position whatsoever. I mean, that's not a position you'd want to be playing a shot from, and A3 is going to try the push force follow, which is difficult to judge when the balls are so close. So again, that's just a visit that gets only 5 points, and you'll be amazed at how much more points you can get if the 2 players actually cooperate with each other and think about what they're doing. And I can see already that there's 1 or 2 players in this game who are not necessarily thinking about what they're doing, and that's all it takes. That's all it takes to make a run of 15 into a run of 30. Trito's again gone for the run through, lots of spin, but his partner's got a carom, and there's not an easy carom on here. I mean, there is, again, when it gets down to it, there's a possible 3-railer from there, off the 3, there, and onto the 1. Again, going for the big heave-ho, all the spin in the world, but no real notion of what he was actually doing, so potted the ball instead of a carom, end of visit. And now we've got another scratch. And we've got some pretty poor demonstrations of shots in this game so far. A whole stack of scratches. But as it is, we've got Dubrovnik and Trito at the table. They're on 33, leading by 4 points. I think, to be honest with you, they'd have been better off sticking with the 9-foot table. So this is a carom, but once again not an easy one. Well, that jaw was always going to be in the way if you're going to try and push through off the 3 ball onto the 1. So end of visit again, open table, and Dubrovnik again, if he's thinking, can pot the 1 and just run through, and that's a bit better, and that leaves Sonic a chance of a carom off the 1 onto the 5. Certainly there's no way he can force follow onto the 3, because that 1's going to kick the 3 by the looks of it. Well, he's used the right English to eventually get a connection onto the 5. Now, the ball to pot here would be the 3 ball, because it would spot next to the 1 ball. And again, well, unless he doesn't finish dead straight, well, there is a carom there, but it was much easier to play the shot I suggested, because you definitely had a guaranteed position. That needs to run through further. That cue ball needs to... No, I think it's maybe okay. I think he's okay. You can play the carom from the 3 to the 5. But again, you don't want to play this with a lot of power, because you don't want the cue ball to start running around the table. That's the simple way you end up scratching in this game, when you're trying to build up some points. Sonic's played the carom the other way. Now, this is actually not bad. Again, if A3 just runs in the 3 and doesn't let the cue ball run too far, he can leave his partner the carom off the 5 onto the 1. Well, he's run through right onto the 5. I think Sonic can still skim off the 5 onto the 1. Let's have a look. Well, I think that shot is on. He can edge off the 5 onto the 1. He doesn't seem too keen though. And hopefully he realises he should be playing a carom here rather than a pot. Now you'll see what I mean about one-dimensional players. This is a thing I talk about quite a bit. A lot of players seem to think the only solution to a problem in this game is a big draw shot, hitting a ball up the table and trying to draw back onto balls down the table. And that is an exact example of somebody not sort of expanding their mind and looking at to use the rails. The rails are there for a reason. But if you play this game just looking for draw shots to draw onto balls, you'll never be successful at it. That's all I would say. So Atrito gets the carom. Dubrovnik has an easy 3-ball. Now the 3-ball's going to spot back up the table as we look, so it's in no great position for a carom. So he's drawn back to hopefully leave his partner an edge off the 5 onto the 1, or even off the 3 onto the 5. So there is a couple of choices there. Again, it would be a good idea for Dubrovnik to pot the 1. Again, he's thinking, well, he's looking at the 5 for the fact that it's 5 points, but the best shot to pot would be the 1 ball and then just run the cue ball over to the right hand side to leave an edge off the 1 onto the 5, which he's done. So that's a bit more evidence of actually thinking about what you're doing. So Atrito has a carom off the 1 onto the 5. But again, doesn't need a lot of power. Now the 5 ball is now dead on that jaw. Let's have a closer look. Yeah, that's not easy where it's sitting, so it's effectively out of the game at the moment. And Dubrovnik's going to pot the 1. That's going to leave a big space between the 1 and the 3 ball. So he's now trusting his partner to create something here. And if he plays the carom off the 3 onto the 5, there's a strong danger of a scratch. But again, he can use the rails. Could come off 2 rails off the right hand side of that 1 and try and hit the 3. Well, that's actually worked out better. Pulled out a good one there. And the run keeps going. They're on 14 points. And they're building up a bit of a lead. So now Dubrovnik can pot the 5. And edge off the 5 onto the 3. Again, this is a dangerous shot. If you play it too firm, strong likelihood of a scratch into either of those top corner pockets. Now, no great options on here for Dubrovnik. Not an easy pot in a 5. And he's overcut that by the country mile. So the run comes to an end, a run of 20. And A3 comes to the table on 29 points. 29 points behind. Well, that's going to spin straight, I think. Well, there is a chance of a force follow on to the 1. Oh dear. Well, there's a obvious thing that can happen there if you got that wrong. Missed the 1 completely in scratch, so just a run of 5 points which are all but gone there with a scratch. And that was a chance to get back into the game. Atrito tried to pot the 1 and play the carom, got the carom, one's hanging over the pocket. So Dubrovnik would be doing a wise thing if he pots the 1. And if he brought the cue ball back up into the middle of the table, he would have a fairly easy carom, probably off the 1 onto the 5. But he's potted the 5. Now again, there is a carom from the 5 to the 1, but it is dangerous because the cue ball could follow the 1 in. And he's played it gentle enough. Now again, the best shot is the one he's going for. If he pots the 3 spots and the 5 ball's very adjacent to it for an easy carom, that's the one to pot. He's taking the 5 instead. And that isn't the best of positions. Bit more angle than he would like to try and run through, but again, Atrito looks for the solution as the big draw. It looks like it. No, I thought it was a draw. I take it all back. Got the force follow working. But this time he's left Dubrovnik an easy carom. Sorry, a easy pot, but there's an easy carom to follow. Well, he's run too far. That cue ball needed to be further left in the table to make the carom easy, and this looks very, very thin. Well, I think he can get it, no problem. It looks a lot easier looking at it from that angle. Well, he tried to run through, he didn't try to use the edge. So again, the run comes to an end prematurely. And Dubrovnik and Atrito are on 73. Now remember, this is the first phase of the game. And the biggest mistake that happens in this game, time and time again, is when players get totally engrossed in the game, especially in the first phase, and forget that they have to get to 90 points exactly. And you know, sometimes players are in quite a long run. They might have scored 60 or 70 points, and then suddenly they pot a ball and it tells them 90 points not reached exactly. They've gone over it, and they lose all their points and have to start again. So nothing there other than the 3 points, and Dubrovnik and Atrito have a chance to get to 90 this time. And it might be wise if Dubrovnik cuts that 3 in and tries to carom into the 5 and bring it into play. I don't know why he's looking up at the 5. Well, he's played a carom, but I think he got lucky there, to be honest with you. Well, this looks like an easy carom on here once Atrito pots the... Well, again, he's potting the 5 ball, so he needs to leave that cue ball up the top end, which he's done. And that gives his partner a fairly easy carom from the 5 to the 3. Oh dear, I think that 5 ball's blocked the path. Well, that's gone wrong, because they're now on a pot, and Atrito's going to have to cut the 3 in. Or is he looking to play a combo? Well, it looks a lot easier if we just tried to cut in the 3. I don't know whether he's trying to cut it into the bottom right. Well, he has, and he's also got the carom and an extra carom. So they're now in 85, so they need to be wary of what they're doing. So Atrito and Dubrovnik are stuck in 85. Now these guys need to get their act together, and again a poor shot, nothing doing, and this time surely Atrito and Dubrovnik are going to get to the carom phase. If he pots that 5 and doesn't let the cue ball run, because he doesn't want to pot the 5 and carom into a ball, that would be 6 points, and that would be over the 90 points. So we've now reached 90, and from now on up until 100, Dubrovnik and Atrito can only shoot caroms. And there's a fairly easy one to start with, either off the 5 onto the 3 or from the 3 onto the 1. Well, he got that all wrong. Got it far too thin. I think he was scared of cannoning into the 1 and knocking it into the pocket, but it's an end of run. But they were on 90. But the game isn't over, because these two guys, Sonic and A3, if they get their act together and actually concentrate on what they're doing, they can certainly catch up. But the longer it takes them to get there, the more likely Atrito and Dubrovnik are going to get the caroms and get themselves closer to that 100. And again, this time an easy carom from the 3 to the 1 ball. And again, that 10-foot table is causing an awful lot of errors of judgment. So that run was only 3 points. So, well, it was their choice. They chose to play in the 10-foot table. It's a hard enough game on a 9-foot table, let alone the 10-foot table. Atrito looking to get a thin edge off that 5, hit the side rail and maybe kick in behind the 3, or maybe hit it direct, but either or, he's just looking for the hit, which he's got. Now again, that is not good. I mean, there is a possible force follow on here. The danger though is that 5 ball looks likely to kick into the 1, and that's a foul. End of visit, and they've also lost their point, back to 90. Let's see if Sonic and A3 can get maybe 20 or 30 points on the board at this visit. They've not really been making any contributions to the game. Well, it's going to have to be a combo to keep the run going, because it's a pot that's on at the moment. 1 onto the 3. And he's missed that, and the only other problem is that Atrito comes to the table with a carom that's on, but the very likelihood that he's going to knock the 3 ball into the pocket. So he's going to try and edge off the 5 and run into the 1. Well, he's looked at it, he's thought twice about it, but that would possibly be the better shot. There'd be less risk of knocking that 3 ball in. The 3 ball's going to end up in the pocket one way or another, because the guys that are chasing it need the points are going to have to pot it anyway, so they'd probably been better playing the edge off the 5. in the end, I think he just tried to knock the 3 away. I don't know why he was so concerned about knocking the 3 out the pocket, because it's going to end up in the pocket anyway and back on its spot. Now Sonic has an open table, so the 1 ball's no good to him at the moment. He just needs to pot that 3. A3, again an easy carom, but not too hard. Just the right weight to take you onto the 5 ball. Again, that's letting the cue ball do an awful lot of running and just relying on luck and getting in a ball. So Sonic is going to possibly pot the 1, because again that gets it on its spot and it makes the carom easier if he gets the cue ball up towards the middle pocket, or if he leaves it in the kitchen. So he's chosen to leave it in the kitchen, but again he's found himself not an ideal position on the 1 ball. Again, A3 is going to play the force follow and try and nudge onto the 3, onto the 5. Sorry, the 3 ball. He's caught the edge of it. The 3 ball's gone to an awkward position. Sonic's got a pot, which is more than likely going to be the 5. But again, if he thinks about the weight of shot, if he tries and keeps the cue ball in the top half of the table there, as we look, he could possibly leave the carom from the 5 to the 3, or from the 5 to the 1. And he's under hit it. But his partner's got a run through. 5 onto the 1. But remember, it's not going to build a score up a lot, just getting little dribs and drabs. So that's again a run of 15 come to an end. And Dubrovnik and Atrito still looking to eat into this 90 to 100 points score. Well, how he managed to find his way behind the 5, I don't know. Found a gap there. But all the time that Atrito and Dubrovnik sit here on 90, somehow or other Sonic and A3 are going to creep up on them, and then it's going to be anybody's chance once it gets to that stage. And A3 can come off the edge of the 1. It needs to be thin to catch that side rail and then kick into the 5. And he's managed to get it, and that also keeps the 5 in a potable position. It'd been actually handier if that 1 ball, well, the 1 ball does pot. I wonder if he'll think about that, pot the 1 ball instead. It's not just about trying to get as many points as you can at each shot you have. It's about playing the logical shot that gives you the best chance of getting the next shot. So this is again an awkward position, and the cue ball's going to be running to try and make the carom. He can play it off the 1 onto the 5, or off the 5 onto the 3. And that needed to be firmer to stun it more, to keep that cue ball straight into the 3. So again, the run is only 7. And these guys have been stuck on 90 for like 10 minutes now. They got to 91, but scratched and, well, didn't scratch, they missed the ball altogether and lost their point. Now Now this shot, you've got to watch that you don't actually pot the 1 ball when you're playing the carom from the 1 onto the 5. He looks as if he's playing the 1 onto the 3, and that's actually got it into play, and that was the better shot. He's also left his partner an easy shot in the 1 onto the 5, so now they're off and running. So it's all about not scratching and not losing your points now. Now Dubrovnik comes to the table, and there's a glaringly obvious 3-railer shot on here, off the 5, or off the 3, sorry, off there, down here and on the 1. He's managed to get the edge, and that's a good shot. That's never the most reliable shot, but if you can pull it off, it certainly looks good. And whatever balls are in the corners between 90 and 100, it's always look at the option for a 3-rail. You don't need them all the time, but if there's no other shot on, then it's well worth it, because it can always get you out of problems. But this is a problem. Now Trito, well, they're on a run of 4, and the wise move would be not do something silly here and lose your points. Well, he's missed a carom, but the most important thing is they didn't scratch and have protected their points. They're now in 94, and meanwhile Sonic and A3 are stuck back on 59. Well, if he runs the 3 into the pocket and keeps the cue ball out in the middle, it's an easy carom from the 5 to the 1. Needs to put a bit of stopping the cue ball though, or run it through and get the cue ball back out. Well, he's overdone that. And that is not good. There's nothing ideal here for a carom, and the run is only 7. And this is why you get such stop and start runs in this game, when players aren't looking at the lay of the balls and looking at the obvious shot to leave your partner. There was a little run through there, like where the 5 ball is right now, or the 3 ball, sorry. If the cue ball was just past there, that would have been an easy carom from the 5 to the 1. And A3++ had no great shot on there at all. So again, the run comes to an end, but now it's getting to the stage where Dubrovnik and Trito are going to be too far into this 90 to 100 for these guys to catch up. And I notice that they've set these pockets like buckets. I mean, they are big, so it makes it a lot easier to scratch off the 1 ball. A very thin edge off the 1 to carom the 3. Oh, we got a double kiss there that ruined that. So A3 has a carom from the 5 to the 3. And played it far too hard and again scratched. So the 3 points is gone, back to 66. The 1 ball is out of the kitchen, and there's a carom off the 1 onto the 3 or the 5. There's a carom from the 3 to the 5, so there's choices here. And that 3 ball's going to gather nicely if it keeps running. Trito is stuck in the rail, so he can't really get into the cue ball. So this isn't quite as easy as it looks, and he doesn't want to hit this too hard and stun into the 5 and pot the 5. He just tried to come off the end rail. That's a good shot. It's good from the fact that he's got the point, but his partner is stuck behind the 5 ball. Now I wonder if he could actually force follow here. Again, that 5 ball looks as if it's going to move something. Oh, he's got it. Now it needs to stay in the table. And that's gathered nicely. So they're now in 98, and this match is heading for a conclusion. And this is a delicate little shot, just a dead weight shot onto the 5, or onto the 3 and onto the 5. And another simple carom from the 5 to the 3, and Dubrovnik will leave the cue ball more or less there, I would think. And now Trito has the final shot to execute. Now he's going to have to try and play a scratch off that 1 ball into his nominated pocket. And the question is what pockets are he going to choose? He could try following through and running into that right middle pocket. That would be the shot. So, well, he's looking at, again, playing a big draw shot off this 1 into the bottom corner, I think. Try to run round the angles. It's not going to get there. Now the other aspect to this part of the game is the fact that Sonic and A3 are chasing, and they need to be wary of where this 1 ball is sitting on the table. They don't want to leave the 1 ball in an easy position to play a scratch from it. So Sonic's potted a 1. It comes down on its spot here where the cue ball is, and A3 has a carom to make. So he's going to put lots of right hand English, come off that 3 ball and try and spin into the 5. And that was fortunate. Well, unfortunate because he's potted a 3. But now, again, the 1 ball right in the middle of the table, and that looks like a good run through. Well, I wouldn't be playing the 5 unless you're going to try and get the carom, but you see the danger there is he's now left an in off from the 1 into that corner pocket. He should have probably potted the 1 So the pocket's been called, and this for the match, and he's drawn the cue ball there, absolutely nowhere near it. And this is how these guys can catch up. It's a tall order to try and get there, but they have to make the most of the chances they get. Now A3++ needs to cut that 5 ball in for a start. There's an awful lot of chat going on, but I don't know whether there's an awful lot of concentrating going on here. But he needs to pot the 5. I presume the 5 is going to spot. It looks as if the 1's are slightly away from the spot. There might be a bit of doubt as to whether the 5 will spot, but he has to really get it into the middle of the table if he can. And now if it doesn't spot, it won't appear. But it has spotted. So now Sonic has a carom off the 5 onto the 3, and again needs to watch the pace of this. He can't hammer this, and he's missed it completely. Far too thin an edge, needed to hit it thicker. So once again, a Trito coming to the table, looking for the scratch. And surely this time he's got to play the scratch into the right middle. Well, again, he's looking for some elaborate way to scratch this cue ball. And there was no way that was on. So open table. A3 can pot the 5. He could run through. He might get a carom as well. There would be no harm in trying it at this stage of the game. And that's going to finish in a reasonable position for a carom from the 5 to the 3. Now again, Sonic needs to get this thicker. He can actually go from the 1 to the 3 as well. He's putting an awful lot of draw in it. Yeah. So there's a technique problem here. And certainly Sonic's looking to be a wee bit lacking in that department. But that's all part of the learning curve of this game. It's not easy to execute the shots if you're not familiar with them. Now this looks as if it's a blocker, and it is, so that's the one good thing that's come out of that, the fact that Dubrovnik can't see the 1. He's looking to jump off the 1, and that was never on because it was far too big a distance. So A3 comes to the table, he needs to pot the 1. He needs to get rid of that because that's in far too dangerous a position over the pocket. And they're still only in 81, but they do have a chance. And this isn't an easy carom because it's very, very thin in the 1. Just to feather the edge of the 1 ball onto that 5, and he's missed it. But once again, a Trito's going to come to the table. Now surely he just plays a straightforward scratch from the 1 into this bottom right hand pocket. That's the shot to play. You hit that 1 ball and you go in there. It's all about your connection to the 1. Let's have a look at it from his end. I don't know why he's choosing pockets that are a mile away from it. He's looking to run the cue, and the more he does this, the more they're going to get caught up. If he pulls this shot off, it's spectacular. And that's spectacular. That is a classic way to finish. It's not the shot I would have played, but congratulations to him. Well done. And that concludes our Cowboy match.